Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the final part of the Giraffe, the Pelly and Me. Now, this final part is going to be really, really short, so I thought as a bonus, I would share with you 6 amazing facts about Roald Dahl. Now, some of these facts you might already know, but some you might not. There were a couple that in particular that I didn't realise about Roald Dahl, and I thought I knew about Roald Dahl quite a bit. So yesterday, we found out that the Duke rewarded the animals by letting them stay in a converted barn. Now, the animals were a bit unsure to start with because they were all very hungry and, they said, we eat special food. Well, the Duke was already onto that because he already had tingle tingle trees. So the flowers were there for the giraffe. He had walnut trees for the monkey, and he had a river full of salmon, which was perfect for the pelican. Now, Billy didn't miss out either. He asked Billy what would he like, and Billy said, well, I'd like the old grubber to be turned back into a sweet shop. And the Duke agreed. So that's what he did, and he gave that to Billy as a present. Now, we ended yesterday with the grand opening. And we found out all the lovely sweets and chocolates and stuff that he was going to sell in the shop. And he started to give out sweets to people. And we finished with him giving a sweet to the giraffe, but we don't know what the sweet was called, and we don't know what effect it was going to have on the giraffe. So let's find out what happens in the end of our story. To the giraffe, I gave a bag of glumptious globgobblers. The globgobbler is an especially delicious sweet that is made somewhere near Mecca. And the moment you bite into it, all the perfumed juices of Arabia go squirting down your gullet, one after the other. It's wonderful, cried the giraffe, as a cascade of lovely liquid flavours poured all the way down her long, long throat. It's even better than my favourite pink and purple flowers. To the pelican, I gave a big bag of fishlets. Fishlets, as you probably know, are bought by children who are unable to whistle a tune as they walk along the street, but long to do so. They had a splendid effect upon the pelican, for after he had one them in his beak and chewed it for a while, he suddenly started singing like a nightingale. This made him wildly excited because pelicans are not songbirds. No pelican had ever been known to whistle a tune before. To the monkey, I gave a bag of devil drenchers, those small fiery black sweets that one is not allowed to sell to children under 4 years old. When you have sucked a devil drencher for a minute or so, you can set your breath alight and blow a huge column of fire 20 feet into the air. The Duke put a match to the monkey's breath and shouted, "Blow, monkey, blow!" A sheet of orange flame shot up as high as the roof of the grubber house, and it was wonderful. "I've got to leave you now," I said. "I must go and look after my customers in the shop." "Well, we must go too," said the giraffe. "We have 100 windows to clean before dark." I said goodbye to the Duke, and then one by one I said goodbye to the 3 best friends I'd ever had. Suddenly, we all became very quiet and melancholy, and the monkey looked as though he was about to cry as he sang me a little song of farewell. We have tears in our eyes as we wave our goodbyes. We so loved being with you, we 3. So do please now and then come and see us again, the giraffe and the Pelly and me. All you do is to look at a page in this book, because that's where we'll always be. No book ever ends when it's full of your friends, the giraffe, the Pelly and me. So I hope you've enjoyed that story. Okay, and I shall start Fantastic Mr. Fox next. So hopefully either tomorrow or on Monday. Now, like I said, I have got a bonus, which is some facts about Roald Dahl. Okay, which I actually found these on the CBBC Newsround site, which I thought were really, really good. So these are 6 really, really interesting facts. Well, I think they're interesting anyway. So number 1 was that he invented more than 500 new words and character names. So Roald Dahl was incredibly creative and came up with more than 500 new words and character names, such as Oompa Loompas and Scrumdiddlyumptious from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and Snozcumbers and Frobscottle from the BFG. He called his language Gobblefunk, and loved to play around with words and invent new ones and meanings. Oxford University Press, so that's the people that do dictionaries, even created a special Roald Dahl dictionary featuring almost 8,000 real and imaginary words that he loved to use. Okay, second fact is that he wrote most of his books in his garden shed. Roald Dahl spent around 4 hours every day writing stories from his garden shed. He's said to have had a cosy old armchair and a specially designed writing board which would sit on his lap. He would also only write his stories using a pencil and yellow paper. And I know I like to use pencils more when I'm writing. One of his most famous books almost had a different name. Now, this is the fact I didn't know, but James and the Giant Peach was almost called James and the Giant Cherry. So that's interesting to know that fact. It was changed from a cherry to a peach because Dahl said peach was prettier, bigger, and squishier than a cherry. His original idea would have been for a giant cherry to be slowly pushed along a stream by water boatmen. However, this was later changed to a giant peach which falls from the White Cliffs of Dover. So just like Roald Dahl, sometimes, we make changes to our stories. Next fact, his books were inspired by the people and things around him. So many of the characters and stories created by Roald Dahl were inspired by the people and places around him. For example, Charlie in the Chocolate Factory was inspired by his childhood. The chocolate maker Cadbury's used to taste test their chocolate bars at Roald's school, and he used to dream that he would invent a new chocolate bar and win praise from Mr. Cadbury. The fox's home in Fantastic Mr. Fox was inspired by a huge tree which grew outside Roald Dahl's home in the village of Great Missenden in England. Roald even named one of the main characters in the BFG after his first grandchild, Sophie. So, inspiration all round us. Now, Roald Dahl he fought in World War II, and I know that tomorrow is the 75th anniversary of VE Day, and he was a spy. So before he became an author, he was a pilot for the Royal Air Force. He flew a Hawker Hurricane plane. Now, if you saw the fly past for Captain Tom's birthday, one of those planes alongside the Spitfire was a Hurricane. Roald also became a spy for MI6 when he was recruited by the Canadian spy master William Stevenson. And MI6 is who we think of when we think of James Bond. And Dahl used to send them facts and secret information, and worked alongside Ian Fleming, who later, because he was also a spy, later became the creator of James Bond. And finally, his first ever children's book was The Gremlins. In 1943, so we're going back a long time now, so 77 years, Roald wrote his first official story aimed at children. It was called The Gremlins and was inspired by his time as a pilot. The story was about a bunch of naughty little creatures called gremlins who would cause all sorts of mechanical problems on aeroplanes. It later became the inspiration behind the hugely popular film Gremlins, which was produced by famous director Steven Spielberg in 1984. So hopefully you found those facts interesting. So on to another story next. So Fantastic Mr. Fox. And thank you ever so much for joining me for this story. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.